Saturday morning, and as you can tell, I'm all bundled up. It is really cold. It is amazing to me. I was out just a few weeks ago doing that daddy-daughter trip with Charlotte, and man, it is much colder this morning than it was that day when I was out and about. So the good thing is it's really dry in a few of these areas. I've got some wood and stuff. I'm gonna get a fire going and hopefully get warmed up next to the fire. Well, if you've been watching my channel long, you know that most of the time, if I do a fire, I bust out my butane torch, lights things up really quickly. Now, I'm a big fan of those. They don't take up a ton of space. Handy to have for other things as well when you're out on trips. But I do think it's important to actually know how to start a fire. And while that's definitely the easiest method, and I'm all for people using the easiest method, there are other methods that I think are valid and useful and especially good to know. So a company reached out to me maybe, I don't know, 3-4 months ago and hit me up and said, hey, it's Bigfoot Bushcraft, and they hit me up and said, hey, we have these fire starter, kits and all these different things that we would like you to test. And I'm like, my first impression of that was, I am not a survivalist by any means. I drive a $30,000 Jeep with $10,000 in upgrades, and I'm not like a bushcraft survivalist at all. But I do think it's important that you actually know how to do a bunch of these things. And I started thinking about my boys and thinking, I went through Boy Scouts, became an Eagle Scout, did tons of camping, and even though I take my kids on a lot of camping trips, they're not doing as much of the work as I did when I was that age. I did a lot more of it myself. And I was learning some of those practical skills. And so I thought, you know what? I think it would be cool to have one of their kits, learn how to use it, and have it as a backup. And so I actually broke my little butane torch. It got stepped on and the nozzle of it broke off. So I've got their kit set up, and I'm going to be doing a fire with it. I've been practicing with my boys because that's what I really wanted to do, is get them good at it. I've used a ferro rod before and a striker to start mini fires, and so that's what this kit comes with. And then they come with kind of their secret ingredient, which are what they call fire plugs. And I'll give a close-up of these, but these fire plugs, basically you break them in half and they open it up, and it's almost like a cotton ball type material inside of it, but it's been treated so that it'll burn for up to 5 minutes, which is really cool. In fact, I tested it right after a really big rainstorm up in the mountains. Everything was super wet. Put those babies down, they light right up, and then you can start working on getting some other things lit. So I want to get in close just to show a couple of these things up close. So here is the ferro rod. You can see you basically start using the striker. You go across like this, put a little bit of pressure, spit out, and it'll start spitting out sparks. I'll do a demonstration of that, but it's pretty cool. You got your ferro rod, you've got your striker, it's connected to it. And then, like I said, the magic ingredient to all of this, they're fire plug starters. So these, it's nice and kind of stiff, but you work it back and forth like this, kind of get it around until you can basically rip or break it apart and expose these fibers that are on the inside. And these fibers that are on the inside, one, they light crazy quick. They're waterproof, so like you can dump this if you drop this in the water. I tested it by dropping it in the river up American Fork Canyon, let it sit there, soak, pull it out, break it apart like this. They're really stiff right now because it's so cold, but break it apart like this, still fires up like almost instantly. Really amazing how flammable they are, and they burn for a long time. So there we go. All right, I've got them broke apart like this. You can see those fibers. Those are what's going to catch and really take the flame. This is where you take your striker and your ferro rod. You can see those sparks just coming off. There we go, lit. So it's already started, this one. I could throw some more on there if I needed to, but I'm just going to take this flame and use it to get this one started. And they burn hot too. Now we'll get a few of these little things going. Like I said, everything here is real dry, so it's not impressive or anything that I got any of this started. But it is impressive to me just how quickly those things light up. Really, my goal with this is to pass on some of this knowledge and skill things that I've learned over time to my kids. I'm not going to become a survivalist YouTube channel. While I do like some of those primitive things, I might even try a couple of like primitive camping trips. It's not really the focus of this, nor do I want it to be. But what I do want is I want to always be gaining knowledge. I want my kids to always be gaining knowledge, to love and appreciate the wilderness. And sometimes when we just come in, start a fire with a torch, we're not necessarily thinking about what it took to get to that point in time. We've had all these technological advances and things like that that make us forget about some of our history, our ancestors, some of those things that I think are important to know. So I've been working with them on it. Wyatt is getting quite good. I think he could have started this fire today. Jackson's still got a little ways to go. He's only 7, so, you know, I have a little bit of slack there, but I've got this fire going nice and well. I'm going to work on some breakfast. If you want to check out this company, it's Bigfoot Bushcraft. Check out the link in the description of this video. They're a local company to the west. They're out in Colorado. If you're interested in picking up some of this stuff, you can use the link in my description. I think that would be awesome. I'm going to be doing kind of a full review in another video about how I like these once I get the boys up and proficient with it, because to me, that's one of my main goals with them. I want them to be able to have this skill set and knowledge. Right towards Fuller Bottom, which is where the San Rafael River runs real close to the trail here, and it's really pretty. You can see all of these trees. I'll bet in the fall this is really pretty as these are all leaving, but you can see there's definitely, you know, some grazing stuff here that they do as well, going across some cattle guards, and river just right there over to the right, in the bottom of kind of this wash here. And I'm kind of headed over towards where I connect for just a little bit the trail where I did on my new favorite route through the Swell trip, and I'll be on that trail for just a tiny bit, and then I'll be breaking off. That heads down toward, you know, Swayze Cabin, or Swayze's Arch, excuse me, and a few other cool things. But I'm going in a totally different and new direction today. I wasn't sure if there was a bridge here or water crossing. It's water crossing. Doesn't look to have much water in it, but I think it'll be pretty hard. We're gonna find out. Tested some depth, wasn't deep hardly at all. Woo! Little step up there over the ice, that's for sure. Well, that was interesting. It was pretty fun. I was not sure what was there. I actually thought it was going to be a bridge, but you know, sometimes there's bridges, sometimes there's not. Wasn't a bad water crossing. Obviously during runoff season or something that could get pretty deep probably, but you know, I was able to go shove a little stick in it, see that it was only, you know, 6 inches deep at the deepest part. And you know, outside of there's probably about a foot deep up over the ice edge, but that's about it. So now just cruising our way through Fuller's Bottom, and it's just all this vegetation. I'm sure the cows, you can see the cows have been down here a ton. I'm sure this is a prime grazing area for them in the spring. trip has been amazing so far. It's midday. I've been on basically all trails I've never been on. This little segment of road, I just passed the turn that takes you over towards the Devil's Racetrack and Swayze's Arch. There I have been, so I'll be on this for maybe another mile or so, and then I'm gonna hit another trail deeper into the swell that I've never been on. So beautiful, absolutely loving. This is a perfect day out exploring. Well, it's 1 o'clock, so I think if I can find a nice little spot with some shade, I'll probably pull off, make myself a sandwich, and just kind of take in a little bit of this beautiful surrounding. I'm amazed. I've spent so much time in the San Rafael Swell, and yet I truly feel like I have barely scratched the surface, and that is incredible considering the probably hundreds of miles that I've traversed around here. So I've hiked up in here. Check out how cool this is. You can see, you know, this kind of natural forming. Now it's not really an arch because it's two different, you know, layers, but you've got like this softer, almost like mud clay, and the rock is on top of it. There must be different sedimentary layers, and just over time as this rain and wind and stuff erodes this away, then the rock on top falls. That's what you can see down below me. Different rocks over, you know, probably thousands of years that have fallen down. Eventually this will all cave in, but until then, man, this is pretty beautiful. Check this out. After a beautiful day in the San Rafael Swell, it was time to head home. If you enjoyed this adventure, please like and subscribe. And if you would like to follow me on the day-to-day, you can do so on Instagram at Backroad Exploration. Thanks so much for watching.